and welcome to another episode of Broad Daylight with me, Priscilla Moore. Today on Broad Daylight, my guest is the Chief Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Prison Service in a person of CSP Courage Astem. We'll be talking about some of the things that have been happening in the prisons, time with the prisoners, and then the way forward for the Ghana Prison Service. Thank you very much, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Sir, please, you're looking gorgeous.
Thank you. You're looking great too.
Thank you very much. I hope I gave you a nice intro.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much too. Sir, please, I would like to know, when somebody enters a prison, is it the end of the life for that individual?
Not at all. Imprisonment is just a phase, could just be a phase of somebody's life. It cannot be the end of anybody's life. In our system, we see imprisonment as a way of correcting people. That is why we say that imprisonment is as a punishment and not for punishment. So when somebody is sentenced into any term of imprisonment, that alone is punishing enough.
Wow.
Basically that, yes.
I see. So, sir, please, do you have measures in place to make sure that those who are there have the appropriate rehabilitation they have to go through?
Thank you very much. Yes, the NRCD 46 of 1972, which spells out the mandate of the prison service, says that it shall be the duty of the Ghana Prison Service to ensure the safe custody and welfare of prisoners, and whenever practical, want to take their reformation and rehabilitation. So basically, our mandate is in four folds.
Okay.
Safe custody of prisoners, their welfare, reformation, and rehabilitation.
Okay.
So rehabilitation is part of our mandate.
Okay.
Yes.
So talking of the rehabilitation, what are some of the things you do for especially somebody who was in school and then has one way or the other found himself or herself in the prison custody? Does that mean that the person dream of being a student or graduating or something is shattered, or when the person comes to your custody, you have ways of making sure that the education of the person is still continued?
Thank you much. Yes, that is why we have introduced formal education in our system.
Okay.
So at the moment we have people who are at primary, at the primary level.
Okay.
People at the basic, JHS level.
Okay.
WASI, that's SHS. And recently we've introduced the tertiary education program with the support of the College of Distance Education of the University of Cape Coast.
Great.
Funding from an NGO,
okay,
Plan Volta Foundation.
Oh, okay.
So as we speak, we have 2 batches of tertiary education students at the Informal Medium Security Prison. So a student who wishes to continue his or her education in our custody will have the opportunity of doing so whilst in incarceration.
Wow. Then somebody will say, I don't have parents, so if I found my way here and I'm going to school, then I'll virtually spend the rest of my life here just because I'm getting education.
Oh, you mean like that will be serve as an incentive for somebody to get commit crime just to go to prison?
Oh, no, not necessarily.
Okay, I didn't get the question.
Okay, I'm trying to say that then somebody who is there, who has found himself there as a prisoner, and maybe the person is an orphan, the person would say that, okay, since maybe I don't have anybody to cater for me, even if my time is due for me to come out, because I'm going to school, then I would like to stay there. Do you have any issue like that?
Oh, no. Your sentence depends on what has been
leveled against you.
Determined by the court.
Oh, okay.
So we cannot say that because you don't have anybody, we are going to keep you in custody even when your sentence elapses. No.
Okay.
We cannot do that. We're going against the law.
Okay.
So once your sentence elapses, you would have to leave our custody. We would have to release you.
Okay.
Okay. In the same way, we cannot say because you have passed your exam so correctly, so nice, so beautifully, we're going to leave you when you have not even finished your sentence.
Oh, okay.
You have to go by the law. And that's of course if a court determines that, oh, by your show of good conduct, study industry and all that, your case has been reviewed and your sentence reduced and you end up finishing the sentence by that reduction, then again you qualify to be released.
Wow. Yeah. So let's say you have a notorious armed robber in your custody, and the person has been sentenced to, let's say, 2 years imprisonment, and then the 2 years has elapsed. What do you consider before letting a person out after the duration for his stay has elapsed?
No, once you have finished serving your sentence, we don't have any right to keep you in custody. So you would have to be released. So
whether the person has changed or is still in his or her old ways, the person will be released because the duration is over.
Yes, we cannot keep somebody in custody on the assumption that he has not transformed or he has not changed.
Okay.
We cannot. We'll be going against the law. But what we'll do is that we put measures in place so that by the time you are leaving, at least there will be a sign of change.
This leads me to my next question. That some people come out from prison with first stories all over. They are transformed, some are pastors and all that. The same angle too, some also come out and they are worse. How does that happen? Because we hear stories that somebody will go to the prison and, excuse me to say, they are practicing gayism in the prison when it comes to the male side. You hear people come out and they talk about it. I'm like, how does it happen? So please, do you one way or the other check them when they're in the
there are
prisons?
three options for anybody who goes into prison.
Okay.
The person may come out the same way, come out better off, or come out worse off. Those are the three options. So as a nation, which one would you go for? I'm sure we'll all go for
the best one.
For them to come out better off, right? So yes, people come into our custody, and we do what we can within our power and ability to reform them. But it is also possible for somebody to go and learn a bad habit from another colleague in there. That is a possibility, human nature, because there are many in our custody. And so we have our programs that we take them through to reform them.
Okay.
But I must also add that these programs are also not compulsory for everybody. We conscientize them, and they willingly submit themselves to the programs. So we take them through what we call sentence planning. We let them know what are available, and then they willingly choose what they want to do through our engagement with them. But somebody can say, well, I know I have committed a crime and I'm being punished. Punishment is that I'm supposed to be in prison. Why are you forcing me to be in school?
Okay.
Until you're able to convince him to agree with you, you can't force him into a classroom.
Wow.
Or you can't force him into a carpentry shop. Or you can't force him into a tailoring shop. So you need to engage him, orient him, or reorient him for him to be able to come to terms with you. That is when the person submits himself to the process and therefore goes to the program and comes out successfully.
Okay, so please, aside the education aspect where they go through the system, they have other informal education. They also do, you're speaking of carpentry, and then those who are into fashion.
Yes, we have technical, vocational, and trade training programs like carpentry, batik tie and dye, basket weaving, kente weaving, smoke weaving, tailoring, what have you, macrame and what have you, a lot of them. And we have officers who have been trained in those fields who help them. And then we also have some organizations and individuals who come to partner us in, putting them through some of these training programs. So we have different trades that we take inmates through. We cannot force everybody to go to school, So those who will not want to do the formal education have these other programs that they go through.
Wow. There's been one thing that has always been on my mind to ask. We see women in the prisons all the time. And I ask myself that how do they get sanitary pads and other equipment, materials to make sure they are okay as women, though they find themselves in prison?
I'm not surprised because you are a woman, so that will be a key area for you. Yes, we have women in our custody, and women have peculiar needs. And so, yes, there are some challenges when it comes to those aspects. But I must say that the family members are allowed to visit them and bring them whatever they need.
Wow.
And then we receive some donations, and sometimes some of these donations, you know, have some of these needs, special needs for women. And then also some groups specifically have their programs tailored towards women and their special needs. They come to provide those. So these are some of the ways by which we manage to at least try as much as possible to help them. But I must say the challenge is there, yes.
But is the government not doing anything in that angle? Trying to bring in them those items so that they'll feel okay? Because you mentioned organizations and the relatives of the culprit or the victim. I've not really heard the government doing anything in helping you people get the equipment you deserve.
The government is so whatever government provides, it's supposed to be used in catering for the inmates.
Okay.
But the fact is that most of the time, government resources are not enough to go around to cater for all the needs. So it is always important to have family members coming in to support and other well-meaning individuals also coming in to support.
Wow, interesting. Please, are there general rules for a visitor to know before entering a prison, any prison at all? Because I remember a friend of mine, they went for an excursion and he ended up misplacing the tag he was given. And then, in fact, he went through the worst time of his life. He had to beg and beg for the inmate there to say that this person is not a part of us before they let him go. And that was the first time I was hearing anything like that. Are there any other measures that we, general public, we have to know?
Yes, we have visiting hours.
Okay.
So you need to go there within the visiting period, and you'll be taken through a process before you are allowed into any prison facility.
Okay.
Now, at the entry, you are given an identification, the visitors that you talked about. For instance, if a man is coming into a male facility, then that identification is very, very key. That is what identifies you from all other inmates there. Now, if you get your visitor's tag, which is your identification, misplaced, what it could mean is that you might probably have given your visitor's tag to an inmate.
Oh, okay.
To pose as a visitor and go out. And then after he's gone out, you're also not coming to say you want to go out. If we allow you also to go out, it means already we have lost one inmate.
I see.
So it is very, very important to keep your visitor's tag, which is your identification, very, very, carefully, so that you don't get it misplaced. If you get it misplaced, we'll have to keep you there until we are able to find the visitor's tag, or we are able to do our head count to be sure that all our inmates are intact before we can release you. Otherwise, we would have to replace whoever you have probably decided to allow to go out in place of you.
By that time, the individual would have spent like 1 month there before even doing all your head counts. Okay, back to another question. Please, March 2020, COVID-19 started. And another thing that I kept on wondering about is, we all know that overcrowding is a general problem when it comes to Ghana prisons. So how did you manage that situation when COVID sprang up?
Well, as soon as we heard of COVID, we knew that we had a big task ahead. So quickly, the prisons administration's focus was prevention, prevention, and prevention. Okay. Because we knew that with our overcrowded nature, if we should record any case in any of the prison facilities, it would be very, very, very difficult to control. And therefore, it was the best option for us was to prevent it from entering. Now, fortunately for us, we would say that our inmates are in a kind of quarantine already because they've been kept in one place. So what we did first of all was to limit as much as possible their external contact. That is why we suspended many of our programs. The outdoor programs like the farming activities that they do, we suspended them. Then we suspended contact visits. Contact visits are where family members come to sit and chat with their, what's in our custody.
Okay.
We suspended those. We limited our visits to only visits involving items being brought for inmates, maybe food or medication, what have you, which will be inspected by the officers at the gate.
Okay.
In the presence of the inmates who stands at a distance. There should be no, close contact between them.
Okay.
But he has to be there to supervise what is being brought to him. After it is inspected, then it's given to him. So that's what we limited our officers to. And then we also had to suspend church and group-related programs that we've been having for our inmates. Many groups come to fellowship for our inmates, have different kinds of programs with our inmates. We had to suspend all these programs just so we could limit the external contact as much as possible. And I must say that till date we have not recorded any in-prison infection, so to speak.
Wow.
The cases we've had so far are all imported in the sense that they were brought from outside.
Oh, okay.
New inmates were coming in from police custody.
Okay.
That was where we got the infections from. So another thing the prison administration did, which was, let me say, the game changer for us, was to designate 7 key prison facilities purposely for new admissions, just so we would not add the new ones whose status we did not know to the old stock, who are already overcrowded. So by that strategy, we've been able to limit our infections as much as possible. So as we speak, we have not recorded any COVID-19 related death in any of our prison facilities so far.
Wow. So did you by any chance have to run tests for all inmates when the COVID was too scary, when we didn't know how to care?
No, we didn't have to. We didn't have to. In fact, there was no need for that. Because as we've been told, you could be tested in this room by getting them out of this room. I may pick it right by this door.
Okay.
So there's no point testing all of them when we need that they have all been in custody all this while, unless of course somebody begins to show signs.
Okay. So why is it so difficult for prisons in Ghana to be reformed?
Why is it what?
Too difficult
for
prisons in Ghana to be maybe reformed or enlarged or renovated?
Prison facilities?
Yes.
Oh, you mean facilities or inmates? I want to get a question.
Facilities, please.
The facilities. Oh, okay. All right. I think I get your point. No, first of all, let me say that the prisons, initially, many of our prisons have not been purpose-built.
Okay.
Many of our prison facilities are some colonial relics that have been bequeathed to us. Some were former military armories that have been transformed into a prison facility and all that. And only a few were purpose-built. And so because of that, the facilities, the structures that needed to be put in place to ensure proper reformation and rehabilitation were not in many of these ones. Because I think that initially the idea of imprisonment all over the world was punishment.
Okay.
It was later they kept, it got, changed. That paradigm shift it became necessary that we should move towards reformation and rehabilitation instead of the warehousing of criminals. So that is when it began that we now had to put in place purpose-built prison facilities to ensure that we are able to reform our inmates. So as we speak, a number of facilities are being put in place. For instance, government at the moment is building a remand facility at the Instagram Medium Security Prison, which will be a prison on its own, purposely for remands. What it is now is that we mix our remand inmates with the convicts, which is not the best. So this facility will cater for only those on remand. And then you might have also heard of the Church of Pentecost. Exactly. That has shown the way. A good example for all churches and all well-meaning groups to come on board. The Church of Pentecost is building 5 camp prisons for us. Now when we talk of camp prisons, these are prisons that are for what we call minor offenses. First of all. Two, these are prisons that do not take inmates directly from courts. These are prisons, facilities that take inmates who have done the greater part of their sentences in in world prisons.
Okay.
So it is used as a way of gradually reintegrating inmates into society. Take it or leave it. The person will always finish serving his sentence. And when he finishes serving his sentence, where is he going to go? He's coming back to us as a society. So the camp prisons are used as a way of letting them out gradually. That is why most of them are not even walled. When you go to the Juvenile one, which was recently constructed by the Church of Pentecost and commissioned, you see that it was just, it's just a fence. Wire mesh. That is the fence around it. No wall, no concrete walls. Yes, these are camp prisons.
Okay.
And inmates who have shown signs of reform are kept there.
Wow.
And trained gradually for them to get released into society.
Okay, so please, in your opinion, what do you think are some of the cases that government should look at when it comes to remanding them or bringing them to police custody? Because when I hear Ibrahim, the man who has been going to prison to speak to some of the
crime check.
Yes, please. When I hear some of the stories, oh, I was hungry and I went to steal 5 CDs and it brought me to prison. When I hear some of the stories, I'm like, why do they get themselves there? So please, do you in any way appeal to the government to grant amnesty to some of the trivial issues?
Well, first of all, let me say that crime is crime. The reason for the crime may not absolve you from the crime. You are hungry, yes, but you have to steal. The fact is that you have stolen. So that is what the law will recognize as a crime, as an offense. Now, amnesty is the prerogative of the president. So it is the president who decides they want to grant amnesty to a number of inmates. What the government does, or the president does, is to give us the criteria to use in the attempt or selecting those who qualify to be considered by the president. So we have the amnesty board made up of key stakeholders, not only in prisons. The police are there, Juvenile could be there, social welfare. All these representatives from these various key stakeholders will be there to consider those who qualify, depending on the criteria given by government. Then it goes back to government and for consideration, and those who actually meet the criteria and deserve to be pardoned are granted amnesty.
Great. So please, can you walk us through the paralegal program? And there's a program like that to help prisoners, paralegal program.
Yes, paralegal program is basically a program to help inmates, especially those on remand, to be able to know how to take their cases on board. So a team of officers trained, they are not lawyers, that's why it's para. So they are trained in subsidiary legal matters to be able to educate the inmates to know what they can do in order to help their cases. Some may be there, maybe if they are able to, file for an appeal, their cases could be re-looked at. But because they lack this legal education, they probably may not be able to take advantage of that. So the paralegal system helps them in, giving them this education for them to be able to know what they can do to help their cases.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay. So we know of children who are underage, like the story that came, 2 young men who went to murder another 10-year-old boy at Kaswa for the purposes of rituals. Assuming these people are sentenced to prison, would they be mixed with the inmates there, or they have a special place for them?
We have the juvenile center That is the only juvenile facility we have, known as the Senior Correctional Center,
Okay.
under the management of the Ghana Prison Service. We have another one, which is the Junior Correctional Center, which is under the management of the Department of Social Welfare,
Okay.
basically for girls. So, such people are kept at the Juvenile Correctional Center. And as the name suggests, there is no prison attached to it. It's called Senior Correctional Center. So irrespective of the crime committed by such young ones, juveniles, it is assumed that they do not know what they even do in the first place. And so they are not supposed to be kept in adult prisons. They are kept at the juvenile center for them to be corrected, for them to be reformed, and return to society as useful citizens. And I must say that we have even ever had a minister of state who was once an inmate of the Juvenile Correctional Center. And that attests to the fact that anybody, irrespective of what they do when they are young, can be changed to become somebody productive. And that is our focus. So as we speak, we have a number of them who are into very useful ventures, who have come out of our center and are into very useful ventures. We have some who are in the senior high schools. We have some who have left our custody and are in tertiary education institutions. So yes, that is the focus of the Juvenile Correctional Center, or Senior Correctional Center, just to turn these young ones from their wayward lives to productive lifestyle.
Okay, so please, when a juvenile is sent to a correctional center and the juvenile is, let's say, 17 years of age and is being given 3 years to serve in the correctional center, the person will turn maybe the next year 18 and the person will now be a legal adult when it comes to our constitution. Will the person be taken from the correctional center and brought to the big cells, or the person will remain there?
No, once you come into our custody as a juvenile, you finish your sentence as a juvenile. I mean, there you are not transferred from the juvenile center to an adult prison just because you have turned the majority age. So yes, they finished 7-year sentence at our place. They become young offenders.
Oh, okay.
From juvenile to young offenders.
So please, what is the way forward for Ghana Prison Service? What are you looking forward to seeing from the government, and what do you have them do for you?
All right. Not only government, all of us as a nation.
All right.
I think that we need to look at our prison system once again, because we keep saying that the prison is like a second home, a potential second home for all of us. You never know when you find yourself at the wrong side of the law. Recently, we heard of a popular man of God who found himself behind bars. And this is one man who has been so helpful to the cause of the Ghana Prison Service.
Really?
Oh yes. He's helped us. He has renovated some of our infirmaries, you know. But the law will not say that because you are sympathetic to the cause of the prison system, you can break the law and run away with it. No. The law can get, you can get caught up by the law, and the law will have to deal with you. So that is why it's important that all of us put our hands together to make our prisons a better place for all of us. You have heard of instances where people are convicted. As soon as the judge pronounces the sentence, the next moment we hear that they are at the hospital. They are traumatized. They are at the hospital. But I believe that if we are all able to make the place a bit more comfortable, a bit more habitable for all of us, should it even happen, God forbid, that you find yourself there, you would at least be consoled in a way. So let's know that the prisons are potential second home. Anybody can find him or herself there.
Wow.
You may never know when you find yourself at the wrong side of the law. Now, another thing that as a nation I think we should also look at is that our current scope of sentencing policy is too limited. So if we can expand it such that our judges can have other opportunities, other options, like non-custodial sentences, then it will also go a long way in reducing the congestion in our prisons. What it will mean is that depending on the nature and magnitude of the offense, it is not every offender who will end up serving prison sentence when the other options are available, like community service, probation, parole, for instance. If we make these ones available, it will go a long way in reducing the custodial sentence and therefore the congestion in our prisons. I think that is one thing going forward as a nation we need to look at. Then 3, societal stigmatization or rejection of ex-convicts. As we speak now, if your younger sister is dating a guy, and all of a sudden somebody comes to whisper into your ears that the guy just came from prison, what will be your reaction?
As human as I am, I'll be a little bit, what? You want to date an ex-convict? That kind of thing. But on a second thought too, there'll be different ideas.
You see, so what we do is that we are rejecting them, and every human being would want to associate. So if, because I've been to prison, I'm back, anybody wants to associate with me, what am I going to do? Now, if assuming I were a peasant farmer, all I could feed on was from my farm. Once I go to prison for 5, 10, 7, 15 years, definitely by the time I come back, there will be no crop on my farm. Now here I am, out of prison custody. No family member wants to see me. No family member wants to come close to me. Nobody wants to wants to help me. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? And I bet you if you do that, there is another group of people who will be ready and willing to open their arms to them. And that will be the group of criminals. So if we reject them, what we're doing is that we're pushing them back into, bad societies, bad companies, which will push them back into crime. And then all of us will be worse off for it, because if people who have committed crime, they have been arrested, they have been tried by the court, found guilty, and sentenced to prison. They go out, come back, and they go back into crime. Then we are back to square one. So it's important that we also try, as members of society, as much as possible, to help create the congenial atmosphere for ex-convicts to be able to resettle and live law-abiding, productive lives.
What is that one thing you would tell lawbreakers? People who have been committing numerous crimes and have not been caught yet or caught up by the law yet. What will you tell them? And
I would say that crime doesn't pay. Crime doesn't pay in any way. And I would say that no matter how good we make any prison facility look, it will never be like anybody's home. There's no prison like that will be like a home, no matter how we make it possible. Make it good. Now, if I take your mobile phone from you for today, how will you feel?
Personally, I'll be okay. Personally,
you'll be okay.
Yeah, personally.
But I bet you there are people who cannot live without their mobile phones for even 1 hour. So, for somebody to live all this, somebody who has been with a family, all of a sudden you find yourself there. You can't see your wife or your children as and when you want. You can't step out to any market or any club or anywhere as you want. All these privileges and rights have been taken away from you. You find yourself in confinement. It is traumatizing enough. It is punishing enough. And I don't believe that anybody should think of going to commit any crime just because, for instance, we say the prison facilities are getting better. No, I don't think that should be the incentive for anybody to go into crime. Crime in any way doesn't pay. Let's stay away from crime and help build a better Ghana for all of us. Okay,
when you look at what is actually going on currently in Ghana, young people want quick money. and I believe you passed through 1 or 2 meals before you got to where you are. What will you tell us in our quest for looking for money as young people? What is that one advice that you will give us as we move forward and as we search for money?
Thank you. I forgot that the author who says the shortest way home is not always the quickest. The shortest way home is not always the quickest. And so, shortcuts are dangerous. I would advise all our young brothers and sisters to desist from shortcuts. You can't make it when you cut corners. If you try cutting corners, you may be successful, but your success will be short-lived. One day you will get caught up by the law. We say the law has long arms, eh? You one day get caught up by the long arms of the law, and once you find yourself there, your way to the prison is very, very short. And so I would advise all of us to desist from the get rich quick mentality. Let's work for our success, and if you work diligently at it, before you get it, you enjoy it better.
If you work diligently at the work you are doing, and you're able to be successful your own way, and the crowd, what is our breath? So you at least do it with more caution. Please, let's be diligent in everything that we do. In fact, I don't see myself in a prison, but anything can happen. I'm not saying I'm going to the prisons. Anything can happen. As CSP said, you can't leave the comfort of your home, irrespective of how refined the prisons are made. You can't leave the comfort of your home and think that you are coming there and you have the same privilege you had when you've not committed any crime. The prison cells is an inch away from every one of us. So we shouldn't think it's far away from us. We should stay out of trouble, and we should work diligently to get whatever that we need as young people, so that we don't use shortcuts to get to where we want to get to. We really had a nice time today. Today I was here with the Chief Public Relations Officer for Ghana Prison Service. We discussed 1 or 2 things concerning prisoners and then the way forward of the Ghana Prison Service. I really had a nice time with him. And until another episode of Broad Daylight, don't forget to log on to our social media handles. That is YouTube CMGA TV, Facebook CMGA TV, Instagram CMGA TV, and Twitter at CMGA TV. Also on our website is www.cmonline.com.gh, your authentic online news portal. Until another episode of Broad Daylight. I don't want to say it's a bye because somebody will kill me today if I don't give him a shout out. Shout out to my my cameraman, my producer, my everything. All the videos you've been seeing, all the graphics, animation is by Kweku Eubank. Kweku Eubank. Shout out to you. I love you so much. Thank you so much for always making my production a wonderful one. On to another episode of Broad Daylight. I call it a bye.